Welcome home, WNST. Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively into what a week, man. Preakness, Orioles home all week, running between the raindrops. Ravens put a schedule together, which back when I was a real media member, this was like sort of a high holy holiday to dictate whether I could come to your wedding, birth of your child, bar mitzvah, whether I could be the best man at your wedding. I mean, I had all sorts of obligations that I felt obligated. I missed my buddy's wedding in Mexico to see Steve Smith catch. So all of this goes into the schedule. And oh, by the way, they're running a little race on Saturday out at Old Hilltop. Bob
In the
Baffert has
rain.
been on the show this week. Donna Brothers has been on the show this week. And then we had an election on Tuesday. I stopped all of these interviews with Kenny Rice and Dick Girardi and all these racing people to run out and vote where nobody voted. I mean, there was nobody voting when I voted, right? They did give me a beautiful sticker with the key bridge on it, which I'm appreciative. I'm going to credit Wes for that, or whoever did it. Wes's department. That's cool. It was nice. Whatever they spent on it was worth it because my wife noticed it and it was nice. And anytime I think of the key bridge, it's nice for me. I'm from Dundalk. But there was an election. There was some aftermath. And, this guy's not my political analyst, nor would I want him to be yours at this point, but we are going to have some fun. He is the follower of the American dream who actually helped me with my taxes and situation. Literally, in the last 24 hours, I've needed Raskin Global and someone like Leonard Raskin in my life who's trying to, just like David Rubenstein's people, make me a grown-up at 55. We welcome him in on Friday, by the way. Leonard, I know you're always bugging me for crab cakes and like where to go and Oriole, and I'm bugging you. You want to come to the Oriole game and you're going to come. We've moved the crab derby from Wednesday to Friday because of the weather. The crabs don't like the rain.
There you go. Who
And by the
does?
way, the PETA people called and threatened the Fadley's people that they should have mechanical crabs
Oh
in the
my
crab race.
God.
Here we go. I know that would strike
Oh,
it. That would hit the Republic right
jeez.
in the heart of your Republicanness. That would hit the donkey and the elephant right where they need to hit. So
Right.
nonetheless, on Friday we have moved the crab derby because it's an outdoor plaza event. We've moved it to Friday. And by the way, in conjunction with the fact that we were already doing the radio show there, already giving away Pac-Man scratch-offs in the Maryland Lottery, already
Beautiful.
talking about Freshwater Liberty Pure and our newest sponsor in Jiffy Lube Multicare sponsoring us on an annual basis, and we're appreciative of that because that's what we need around here to power the engine of freedom and free speech. They once called me Radio Free Dundalk. I'm now going to call myself Radio Free Venezuela because I have to embrace my Hispanicness to prove that I'm Hispanic. How are you? Is life
Excellent.
good with you?
Life is good, man. Life is good.
We had an election, man, and
We
like
had an
you and I are
election.
like we are
Stunning.
unlikely friends in the real world because we
Yeah,
probably,
hey.
if we talked about politics, we'd hate each other.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe we love each other more. I've talked to your
Just
sister about politics, and your family doesn't agree with you, so it's fine.
no, it's hey, everybody's got their own agenda and their own beliefs and likes and dislikes. And I just
But
I
no better
love
time to talk than the day after election.
no, I
About
love
all of this,
election
right?
night. I was talking with the boys home and we were sitting watching election results, and it's just always fun to
Does he share your
see
politics, or has he gotten liberated out in Ohio?
he shares my politics for the most part, but he's gotten a little bit a touch of liberal. He fought it well for 4 years.
You know what's crazy is the touch. What you're going to tell me the touch of liberal, and I'm going to chuckle at you. But what is amazing is it doesn't matter what your politics, and this leans toward you being wrong and me being right politically, but
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
leans toward every generation being more liberal than the last one.
Only you know what was it, Churchill? I don't know the exact quote. I'll get it wrong. People will know exactly what he said. But
Kids revolt. Period.
yeah, but he said if you're I don't know if it was, I think it was Churchill, whoever the hell said it, Roosevelt, whatever. If you're a Republican before the age of 40, you have no heart. If you're a Democrat after the age of 40, you have no brain.
That's nice. I'm gonna. That's not even mean. I was expecting far worse from you.
No,
Morning,
it's a famous quote, and I got it probably 98% correct, and I don't remember who the hell said it, but you can look it up because it's a classic, traditional, big old quote.
So my whole
And
tone with you, as you being a sponsor and me being appreciative of your sponsorship and you handling my money and you having a golf tournament for charity 2 weeks from now, we're going to promote Mount Washington
yeah,
Pediatrics. But through all of that, I'm going to be flipping with you in the next 20 minutes because we're going to talk about politics. But the
yeah.
first things first, before we turn the mic on, you were going through results and I was going through results. Literally, my wife woke up this morning kind of forgetting, and had coffee, and she said, "Brandon won."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah."
Hey, I think the
And
people of Baltimore said, the people in the city, and it wasn't, here's the thing that blows me away. And people talk, the media squawks, and people vote. Now, what was interesting or is interesting to me is very few people vote.
Nobody
You
votes.
the,
That's the
the
first thing you realize.
the primary. I looked at the city numbers, and you see the small number of people that Brandon got votes from, and beat
33,000 was the number I saw, right?
and beat Sheila, right, by however many it was. The point is, nobody votes. There's got to be more eligible voters in the city than that, unless everybody's trying to avoid jury duty.
You know what? That makes you a really interesting political analyst in this, that the first thing that you bring up isn't
Is turnout.
Trone lost, Alsobrooks won. Where's
No.
Larry Hogan? Where's Robin Ficker? Oh, Johnny O's running against
Right, nobody.
Kim Classic,
Yeah, so
so all of this, right? So and Trump got some votes, and people voted for Robin Ficker. What's wrong with you people?
hey,
But nonetheless,
people voted for John Doe. People voted undeclared or uninterested. I think more uninterested than anything. And everybody. Here's the thing I love: all the pundits, again, all the talking heads, all the politicians. This is the most important election in our history. But the problem is now it's like the boy that cried wolf. Every election we have now is the most important election in our history, and it's nonsense. They're all important, and they're all irrelevant because, see, here's the thing that I believe. And you and I have talked Republican Democrat politics. That's fine. That is what it is. But I am firmly in the camp that we have a political class and then we have the public. And I don't care what party's in charge. The federal deficit has not gone down. Tax revenues are through the roof. The government's bringing in more money than it ever has. And as far as I'm concerned, it's theft. I hear people say that if the Trump tax cuts are made permanent, that there's a $5 trillion whatever nonsense cost of that plan. And I say, cost to who? Cost to who? Well, cost to the government. Well, the government doesn't have any money. They don't produce anything. They steal our money and use it for what whoever is in power wants to use it for. So to me, the only difference between a Democrat and a Republican in office is whether or not you like what they spend the money on, because neither of them are going to stop taking it. Nobody's going to come in and say, you can have your money back. Now, from a purely conservative standpoint, not Republican, forget Republican, conservative perspective of what the Constitution says and what the government does. The government does dramatically more at the federal level than they were ever intended to do. And it is so bloated and so big that one of my favorite lines, Ness, is when there's a snowstorm and DC or Maryland, the government shuts down because of the weather. And here's what they say. Here's what you hear on the radio or TV that you watch. Non-essential employees need not report. Well, I don't know about you, but in my business, I have no non-essential employees. If I have non-essential employees, that's called unemployment. That's a drain on my return. And so business does not operate with non-essential employees. Those are things that are called layoffs. The government never lays anybody off. It is so bloated. The bureaucracy is so big. The government does so much more than it was ever intended to do. Our founders are rolling over in their graves. And so I don't care Republican or Democrat. It really doesn't matter to me. The thing is, they're all taking our money. They're absorbing capital. And we have three. If you had a pie, let's make this a pie. There's three parts of the pie. You've got the government, business, and the consumer. There's only so much money. Okay, now they can print more. That's a bad thing. They can put more money in the system. That's a bad thing. But when the government takes more, business and consumers have less. It's very simple. So you and I try to get ahead. We try to produce our American dream. We try to have wealth and do the things we want to do for our families and charities and our future. And the more we try to get, the more government takes it away. They tax it. They confiscate it. There's all kinds of fees and charges and rules and regulations.
Sort of like dealing with a bank.
Yeah, they all.
Or Ticketmaster.
Yeah, see, that's the corporate side. They're trying to get their share too. But what happens when they get too big? Well, Bill Gates was famous in the late 80s, 90s. He was very famous in industry for not having any lobbyists. in Washington. He had nobody on his behalf at the company dedicated to lobbying. And then suddenly there were antitrust lawsuits brought, and there were big rules and regulations put on. And Microsoft lost a fortune in problems. And then suddenly they had the biggest lobbyist payroll in industry, and it all stopped. So you got the corporate class paying the ruling class to keep the ruling class out of their wallet. The consumer doesn't have lobbyists like that. They just get trounced. And whenever you hear,
right, when credit cards are 23%, nobody cares.
Right. Well, why are credit cards 23%? Because they're in Delaware. And who ran Delaware? A guy named Joe Biden. Why can't you file bankruptcy and knock out your student loans if you're bankrupt? Because Delaware and Sally Mae are run by this guy whose name was Joe Biden.
See, you like Delaware when you get your tax structure there, though, right?
That's right. They're corporate brilliant. It's corporate and creditor brilliant in Delaware. So is Nevada. So is Wyoming. There's some other states, South Dakota. There are other states that are also like that. But Delaware is a very favorable corporate state because they have great state law. And then, suddenly we have a student loan crisis. So what does Joe do? Becomes president and lets all the rest of us pay for all the rich people's student loans. Who has tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans? Not your mechanic, not the guy that owns WNST, not the guy that's your plumber, not the guy that's your roofer. It's your lawyer because they went to law school. It's your doctor who went to med school and couldn't afford it and borrowed $100,000, $200,000. And then Joe says, we're going to forgive student loans.
Well, that's not everybody. I'll push back on that.
A lot of student loans.
I'm a Dundalk guy who had a nice ride because I went to community college and I didn't have student debt, and I worked at the Baltimore Sun. But I had a lot of friends that went to Towson or Loyola and wound up with 50 grand. That was tough for them and a tough situation.
Yeah, but what are they doing?
And a job a job that didn't come with the promise that even currently,
right.
Hey man, who
should pay that?
You got a situation with your kid getting out of college right now.
That's right.
It is interesting to see what kind of dough he would make to support the 60 grand a year it cost to send him to college. I don't know what it even costs.
That's exactly right. No, you're right in range.
I guess 60 was right. So it cost you $250,000 to send him to school, but you're a guy of means. If you're my dad could have never have done that.
Then you got to borrow. Then you got to borrow for it if you want to go. So now you borrow. And you get out of college, or you don't go. That's right. It's not for everybody.
Now I don't go, and now what am I doing? Something else.
Now you're a plumber, an electrician, a roofer. You start a business. You're an entrepreneur. You don't have to go to college to make a living in this world. You can make a really good good living without ever going to college. I did all of that,
and I got 2 billionaires here in my prime, a place that seek to silence me anyway. So so the political side of who the big guys write checks to.
Right, but my point is who's getting their
your whole
my
thing
point
started
is
with
who's
Trone
getting their
trying to buy an
loans.
election, right?
Yeah, who's getting their loans paid off? It's not plumbers, it's not electricians, it's doctors and lawyers. Okay, they have big debt.
And anybody who had the dream of going to college and came out to
I
got a degree and I did my thing and it's because I went to the school for the arts and there's no job. You know what I mean?
That's right. And now I'm an art teacher or a tattoo artist or a mural artist or something, and I'm not making enough to pay off these loans.
I'm not picking on I'm an arts guy and all of that.
I got it. Me neither.
I often wonder when I hear young people.
But here's my thing.
Hang on, Leonard.
Go ahead.
I had an intern who was a college person a couple summers ago.
Yeah.
And I got an education, and my friend John Della Volpe was on with Jon Stewart earlier this week. He's a Facebook friend.
Okay.
He's an expert on Gen Z. What your kid will put up with and what he won't, and how old farts like us hanging on ball game, old baseball games and thinking we're cool. We're not. The next generation, we need to understand them. I don't fully. And I guess this is my point.
Yeah, it's a whole demographic thing.
And I hear, I've had young people say, I'm in college to become a journalist. I'm going here to be, and I'm thinking, I would never tell you as a kid, because when you get out, you're going to be dealing with Mr. Rubenstein's people and Mr. Bisciotti's people, and they're going to excommunicate you unless you're on their side of the fence. And you're going to have, being a journalist is not something I would want for my child, nor would he want for himself at 39 at this point,
Right.
watching my roll through life. But I watch all these people aspire. So when I say arts, that can mean
I get it.
basket weaving. It's
No, but
something that is a vocation that you aspire to,
yes.
that they sell you a bunch of bourgeois about your English degree or your this degree or that. Then you get out and there's no job for you.
Hang on,
and you have $250,000 in debt.
But here's the problem. It's because you can't get rid of the debt. The reason they can lay the debt on you like a chain around your neck, like an anchor, is because it is free and easy to borrow that money. You can borrow $200,000 to go to college. Go try borrowing $50,000 to start a business. Good luck.
Right.
Good luck. But why? Because if you borrow the 50 grand to start the company and fail, what do? You walk and the bank eats it. You can't walk from a student loan. It is non-dischargeable in bankruptcy. So the schools can charge all they want. The government and banks can lend all they want. And it's all government backed because Joe Biden says you can't get rid of it in bankruptcy. Law passed when he ran Delaware. Okay, here's my point. If the bank had skin in the game, if the school was on the hook, you make me this promise, Micah, that I can get an arts degree, $200,000, and then I can get a job to pay off my loans. And if I can't, I can come back to you as the manufacturer of that degree and say, you owe me money. You can't do that. I go to the bank and say, I'm going to discharge my debt in bankruptcy. You can't do that. So the government putting its hand on that scale has cost Americans fortunes in kids who can't pay off their debt because they didn't get the job they were promised. And colleges laugh all the way to the real estate world because guess what? You show me a college that doesn't have a crane on its campus, that isn't building more dorms and more buildings, and I'll show you a failing institution. They are not education centers. They are real estate companies, hedge funds disguised as colleges.
Now we're agreeing on
with
now,
free
now
money,
you're coming around to
free money being poured into them by banks and the government to screw people that don't know any better and don't think.
I keep saying to myself, even if I had means as you have to send your child to school because you've worked hard to be able to do that, there has to be the sensibility of like, what are you going to do when you get out?
That's right.
And how
you have to have a plan.
Get paid back?
You have
and
to
I
have
don't
a
know
plan.
that the whole system isn't flawed.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
I mean, so Leonard Raskin is our guest. Listen, I want to go to the elections here for a minute.
Oh yeah,
too.
Sure. Let's talk what happened here.
So
we started with.
Give me the final. Here's the thing. Go ahead.
Here's the thing.
I was told I don't listen well this week. I want to make sure.
No, you're doing great. Here's the thing. On the elections, in my opinion, my humble opinion, Marylanders stood up and said, Democrat Marylanders stood up and said to David Trone, you keep telling us that you're spending your money on the election. You're not taking any money from anywhere else. And you outspent Angela Also Brooks 10-1, 60 million of your money to 6 million of her money. And hers was raised by grassroots, knocking on doors, kicking down tables, and asking people for money. And yours was, I wrote the check so nobody can say I was bought and paid for. And the citizens of Maryland and the Democratic Party said, dude, $60 million. What are you doing that for?
You know who got rich from that money? Because we never talk about that.
The commercials, the producers of commercials.
WBAL, WJZ, Fox 45, Channel 2.
Yeah,
they
God
all
bless.
Facebook, another local company,
yep.
took all of this money.
All the ads.
Could have been 60 guys like you donating $1 million a piece.
That's
that
right.
could have happened too.
That's right.
But it didn't happen that way. It happened. So, like, to my point, they go out and do all this grassroots to give the money to Hearst Corporation.
That's
or
right.
Whoever, Westing, I don't even know who the hell owns it.
Whoever it is, to get them to say.
It's a media play.
Exactly.
That's my point. And if these
course.
are the same people who have press credentials and I don't. I own an FCC license just like they do, an answer to the government to serve the public.
I'm with you 100%. And so I think Marylander Democrats said, wait a minute, we want a gal who's fighting for the citizens of the Democratic Party. We don't want a guy that owns liquor stores telling us how great he is because he's rich and thinks he can buy an election.
Let me say something nice about David Trone.
Might be
Because
a good guy. I don't know him.
yeah, I got to. Well, this plays right into a good story. Okay, so hang with me here.
Yeah.
I've never, I don't know much about David Trone. I've never met him. I've seen the signs
Yeah.
in his district when I've driven west.
Yeah, sure.
And Google him, like Angela Alsterbrooks. A lot of my friends supported her
Yep.
through parties for her, different things. And I tried to get both of them on, and I failed. I mean, their people never
Right.
really got back to me, right? So I'm not, no offense, but like I'm only going to ask 3 different times, and
Yep.
and maybe Angela will come on now. Larry Hogan, same thing. Just so you know, Tom Kelso, everybody knows that I've had Tom Kelso on as the Maryland Stadium Authority. He's running Hogan something. I don't want to say
Yep.
it wrong, but
Yep.
he's doing something with Larry. He's very connected to Larry. We're working on getting Larry Hogan on, so I'm hoping to have them both on, and
Right.
I suspect I will. But so I've never met Angela Alsterbrooks. Larry Hogan did my event. I mean, I know Larry Hogan well. I don't
Sure.
agree with Larry Hogan politically. I thought the military ads were really, like, like, dude. And I don't know if you know my skin color or not, but I'm Hispanic. My people came here from another, and I point that out. And when I do,
How?
I get called
How?
names for
How'd they
doing
come
that.
here?
But
Did they
I don't
swim
like,
across the Rio Grande?
I don't. My father came here sort of. My brother certainly didn't come here the absolute, straightest.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
people come here under all sorts of
I
circumstances, and
get it.
they come here for a better life.
Oh, I get
And
that. And asylum has its value, but invasion is a little too much.
I
Millions and millions of people walking in is a
understood,
little too much.
but you know what? If you're Larry Hogan and you've been the governor of the state and you're trying to be
Yeah.
attractive to people, the military garb at the border and standing next to the machine, like I don't need all that.
It
You know what I mean?
beats
If
it
you're
beats
Larry Hogan,
Ficker.
be Larry
It beats
Hogan and
Ficker.
be a good senator.
Well, now he's
Be
got
be a senator
now he's
for
got what,
everybody,
6
Larry.
months? He's got
That's
6
all.
months. What
So
do we have?
listen, Larry will sit with me if he's as honorable as I
Right.
think he is,
We
and
got
as he's
5
been in
months
the
for him
past.
to be
And I have no
a
reason to think Larry won't be
centrist.
honorable, other than the last time I saw him, he said, "I already did your show last year." Okay,
Right.
that's literally the last words out of Larry Hogan's mouth to me.
Right. Well,
So
it's
that's
time
that.
to do it this year
Yeah,
because it's
well,
a
here we
general
go, because
election.
he's running, right. And I get to ask him about why he thought that commercial would be attractive to me and my wife. But nonetheless, and I'll do all of that. But Trone, he's no longer in this, so let's talk.
Right.
I ran into him at Fadley's. So this gives me a chance to say that the
Yep.
Crab Derby moved from Wednesday to Friday. We're going to be at Fadley. Have you been to the new Fadley's yet?
I have not been to the
Have you
market.
been to the new Lexington Market yet?
I've been to the market, but not
Okay,
since
so
Fadley's
they're
was
in the
open.
front now with the
Yep.
deck, and
Yep.
it's really lovely, and you can see the stadium. It's 3 blocks away. Come by, get a crab cake, a beer. But so we're doing the crab races Friday, but last Thursday night, this was one of the most beautiful things, Leonard. Bill Devine has been battling some. He's in his 90s. He's battling some health issues. He had a surgery, like major surgery, 3 weeks ago. He had not been in his new store, and they wheeled him in. He's doing
Oh,
great.
geez.
Yeah, he's doing
Wow.
good. So he got to see it with 400 people there. The whole market was shut down. It was a VIP kind of thing.
Yeah.
And BJ Surhoff, who's a part of the crab thing, I talked to him, and a lot of listeners of mine and friends. It wasn't like a celeb. Don Moeller and his wife, beautiful wife Linda, people were there, right? And we're mingling and we're having some food. They served us too much food, and it was all that. And I looked up and I literally was talking to BJ Surhoff and having like a crab cake. My wife's like, "Hey, that's David Trone."
Hmm.
And Dutch had given like a little speech, but nobody could hear it because the PA wasn't good. So
Right.
then I know Dutch, and
Yeah,
whatever.
sure.
So I went. You'll love this. You're just gonna love this. And Mr. Rubenstein's representatives could love this too because they're listening now. I I went over to Dutch and just gave him the, "Hey, Dutch, how are you?" And I was like really looking to introduce myself to David Trump.
Right.
And they didn't have food and they weren't eating and they were just talking to 2 of them. And I went over and I said, "Hey, David, I'm Nestor Aparicio. First time I'm Venezuelan, and you had a Polar un tipo cerveza, un popular that I loved that I bought in Miami at his stores. His
Right.
stores were in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm
Yep.
like, I always got my Venezuelan beer in your Florida store. I'm appreciative of that. It's the only place in the world outside of Caracas and Maracaibo that I could get it. So I love it. So Dutch says to him the thing that I would love, that if I die today and it were on my tombstone,
Yeah.
and I would credit Dutch Ruppersberger. If you ever get a statue built when I'm gone, like Ear
There
in
you
the
go.
Envelope or Van Gogh, they ever do that for me, do it in Dundalk if you do it somewhere. Do it at
Got
East
it.
Point Mall
Of
where the
course.
bowling alley is. But underneath of it, Dutch says to David Trone, who has no idea who I am, and I have no idea, and I'm not impressed
Right.
one way or another. I
Right.
just wanted to get him on the show and meet his
Yep. Yep.
representative. Dutch says to him, elbows me, says, he's real Balmer. Literally, that's all he said. Dutch
Right.
elbowed him and said, he's real Balmer.
There you go.
And I said, Dutch, hang on a minute. I want to grab my wife and I just want to bring her over here and have you say that to David Trone, now the not winner of the, Democratic Senate primary. But nonetheless, that was the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me.
There you
Dutch
go.
Ruppersberger introducing me to a guy he's politically trying to aid as he's real bald.
There
So
you go.
if somebody were to say to David Rubin, say he's real bald, like that's all I want people to say.
That's
he's
right.
real bald.
All
so
right, let's get into a number. Hang on, let's get into a number. You ready?
Go ahead.
I find this amazing. I just looked this up. In 1789,
okay,
a senator in the United States government got a $6 a day per diem while in session. $6 a day. That was from 1789 to 1815. In 1855, they made $3,000 a year. $3,000 a year. In 2014, a U.S. senator makes $174,000 a year. Okay? Explain to me, as a capable individual business owner who invests money in his business to get a rate of return, to spread news and information, and to have a life for you and your family that you want for your future, why anyone would spend $61 million of their own money to get a job that pays $174,000 a year. I don't understand the math. Can you help me with that?
Well, I mean, that's for him to explain it. He didn't win.
Right.
So, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
so here's my thing. There's something about power. There's something about fame. There's something about the opportunity, I believe, when you become a senator, to make a fortune in your family, in your life. And what I see is there are a lot of senators that come and go in Washington because they can't stand when they get there what's going on these days. It's really tragic. Public service is not what it was.
Well, I mean, I was going to run
150
for
years
mayor,
ago.
and under the circumstances that Sheila was going to win expressly, Sheila, I believe, when I went to bed Monday night, was going to win. Tuesday night, and I wake up and Brandon won. I don't good, bad. I get along with Brandon.
I'm thrilled
Brandon
that the
did
people
not
of
come
Baltimore.
on. Sheila did. I mean, I offered Brandon equal time, and he didn't come on.
I agree, but I still say I am thrilled with the limited number of voters who came out in Baltimore City and said, we don't want to put a convicted criminal back in a seat of government. They did that in Washington, D.C. with a guy named Marion Barry. Didn't work out so well. I don't care. I know she's paid her restitution. I get it. I think it should disqualify you from the seat. Criminal conviction, not overturned, not on appeal, not a hit job, a criminal conviction for something she did, which was blatantly terrible, although small, and that makes it even more terrible. I was talking to somebody about this a couple weeks ago, and they said, my God, if you're going to steal and get caught, at least steal $1 million. Don't steal a couple hundred of gift cards.
Yeah, it is. And I had her on, and she's much more charming than the media part, like and
I still
capable
think,
in a lot of ways,
course,
in many people's minds, right?
She was stupid.
But I don't
disagree
disagree with you that I would not have pulled the lever, right?
No, that's
and
right.
I think part of it, and again, I think some people abstained, just said I don't like either, and
that's right.
And that's that I can't vote for a winner, so I'm not going to vote for. I mean, that's like me right now with Angelos and Bisciotti locking me out. Like neither one can be a winner for me. Like, you say pick one or the other. Like
no.
I'm appalled by the concept of it, right?
Right. The fact that these are my choices is not good.
So for me,
we got a presidential election coming up like that.
The amazing part, Leonard, and I sell marketing for a living, and dare I would say to any of my sponsors, right, of Wise Marks, whatever, that it works or it doesn't work, or you're getting the word out. Here's the thing that's amazing. David Trone spent his $60 million. All these people spent all of this money saying, please support
Me.
Me, us, my party, F Joe
My
Biden, F Donald
right.
Trump.
Right.
Let's
Right.
vote
What
guns.
I'm
I'm Robin
for.
Ficker. I love Trump. Come support me.
Right.
I'm pro Biden. I'm anti this. I love the Ulster Brooks. Any of that, all
Yep.
that I've done, I've given hundreds of hours to politics here in the
Yep.
last 6 months. The amazing part, all the ads, every ad that comes, every freaking text. Oh my God, stop effing. That's the best part of today. That should be my
Yes.
status, right?
Yes.
So all of this that goes on, and I walked into where I voted, and I got applause when I walked in, like literally, because I looked like I was the first one that had been there in 30 minutes, 45
The
minutes.
boy and I went out.
No one
We
was
were
in the
in and out
lot.
in
No one there.
2
No one
minutes.
parked. No
Nope.
one in. No one out. I didn't see. It's like it was a private voting place
Same
for
here.
me.
Same here.
And I'm a mailer and whatever, but I put it on the calendar and wanted to go do it. Right. I wanted
Absolutely.
to physically do it, not because I believe Donald Trump has screwed up the U.S. postal
I get
system
it.
because he has, or not because I believe they won't count my. I don't believe any of that. I just wanted to go vote. And even when I got there, they're like,
Absolutely.
"Do you want digital or paper?" And I'm like, "Give me paper. I want paper." And I don't know why. And I'm not thinking why. I'm like, that's because what I'm used to when I'm here. Just
Right.
give me
I
the,
chose the digital to see how it worked. It
I
was
got me the
quite
hell
easy.
out of the office to go
Right.
vote, right? Like
Right.
it felt good to me.
Well,
But
here's another
it
thing.
felt bad to me when I got there and my voting experience was tumbleweed. And then I woke up in the morning and said, nobody voted. I go back to what you said.
That's right.
Nobody voted. So all of these texts, all of this barrage, all of this media, all this conversation, all of these debates,
And
all of the
nobody
money
came out.
spent, all the whatever corruption or not corruption, whatever you think, 60 million of this or 6 million of that, whatever, all going to TV Hill, all going to like all of that. And then the activation is we didn't sell any bobbleheads.
That's right.
We didn't even sell any pizza. Like what happened? That's really the story is that
It's
people
amazing.
are fatigued by
Indifferent.
their own freedom.
Indifferent. And that's right. People come here from all over the world and can't believe this opportunity to vote for who you want, not who you have to.
Yeah.
And yet people don't get out and do it. They bitch. People bitch and complain a lot, but they don't go out when it matters and do anything about it. And then they keep squawking. I say to people, if you didn't vote, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Leonard
I could care
Raskin is
less
here.
what you have
He
to
will
say.
handle your money. He's Raskin Global. This is kind of fun. We didn't do any baseball. We didn't do any like Preakness. I'm doing Preakness all week. I had Bob Baffert on. I'm doing baseball. We have the NFL schedule coming out, so we'll do that next week, you and I. But anything
Absolutely.
else on the political side? Was there anything that I'm sort of shocked that Sheila didn't win?
Now, you know what? It
I'm
also
shocked how
blows
few
my
people
mind.
voted. Like
I also look at the week before. The week before we had early voting, and think about all the money that has to be spent to set up the places and get the people there and the machines and the electricity and the
give
time.
everybody a chance and nobody does it, right?
And we had less than 5% of the people came out for early voting and precious few more on the actual election day. It's astonishing. People take this country and their rights and their privileges for granted so much that it's become the norm not to vote rather than to vote. And that is a sad commentary on our population.
It's not good. It's just not good.
It's exactly right.
It's
I don't
not
care,
good.
Democrat, Republican.
And everywhere I
it's
go,
not good.
misinformed, ill-informed, or willfully ignorant, or willfully uninformed.
Just ignorant. A hugely ignorant population.
Yeah, please. It scared the hell out of me when I wrote the second Ravens book and I went down to the beach and these are people with purple castles and purple everything. And they didn't say to me, I'm not interested in the Ravens or I don't like you or I don't like Brian Billick or I didn't like John Harbaugh or Joe. They said to me, I don't read books. And
right,
I'm like,
right.
And that was a black, white, universal, male, female,
Doesn't matter.
young, old. This were Raven fans. This was a Raven convention.
Know
and I wrote a book to
nothing.
expressly give them more color, information, background on something they love. But it was a book, and they don't read books. And that freaked me out, and it freaks me out every time I bring John Eisenberg on. Or this week I had an author named Dan Schlossberg on. He covered Hank Aaron, author. Yep. I had Tim Wendell, who was a baseball author forever, wrote all of these great baseball books.
Nobody cares.
A book here, like books, authors, learning. It's important for and I know, listen, on the money side of things, this is one of your pitches is that, and to me, and you saw this in action. We got together with our accountant the other night, you, me, my wife, and our team. You have a financial team you put together for me. So it's a good plug for you as well. And I promise to pay all my bills. but that you would put together a team that so we could sort of get this thing right.
Yep.
And so many people make the mistake of thinking, guessing, worrying. I'm one of those guys. I am smart enough and old enough to know, and I said this to Joe, it's Chinese literature
That's
to
right.
me.
That's right.
And Bishotti once said something really smart to me, and I don't want to like totally quote it, but I'll give you
Yeah, sure.
the gist of it is that you're never going to, and I'm completely
It's okay.
murderizing this, but if you don't play the guitar and it's a hobby, don't think it's a vocation. Like,
That's right.
don't turn your if you're good at football, give your money to someone else, because someone else can professionally do that in the same way you want a dentist, a doctor. You
That's right.
don't think that you can handle your own teeth. Nobody believes
That's
that,
right.
but they believe they can do their own money. They believe they can do
Absolutely.
things that they're not
Absolutely.
truly expert on. And I think one of the real parts that you're a grown up is knowing what you don't know and then
Yep.
turning that over to people like Joe. And Joe's sitting there when you pick the widget of the EBITDA and the bit, and I'm like, dude,
Just I
like
don't need
I've
to know how the
tried. I'm
I don't need to know
55
how the
and
watch
I
works. Just tell
understand
me what
basic
time it is.
math, and I
Tell me what
understand
time it
that
is.
if I bring in an extra $100,000 of revenue this year, 25 to 33% of it's going out the back door in this state, in this situation, and you're going to tell me how we're going to send that to the state, and we're just going to write a check, and I don't need it all explained to me because I really am challenged to understand it in the same way
That's right.
that some folks are really challenged to understand the infield fly rule, spin rate, but they just don't want to know that. They just want
They
to root
just
for Adley
want to
Rutschman.
watch the game and see the score.
Right,
Watch
exactly.
chicks dig the long ball.
Yeah, they just want to have fun at the game. They don't need to read the form at the racetrack, but
That's
they're
right.
betting on the race. And
Because the horse
that
is
is
good
a
looking.
great, but there is your analogy.
Because of the jockey colors.
They don't know anything about the sport. They're
Nothing.
betting against experts
That's
who
right.
read the form
That's
in
right.
odds, and they're
Well,
pissing
there's
their
a
money
book.
away, or they're
There's a
taking a
book.
chance they shouldn't.
Yeah, there's a
Right?
book. It's called The Wisdom of Crowds.
There you go.
And the betting window is one of the classic wisdom of crowds. The odds are there for a reason. The knowledgeable bet on the favorites. That's how they become the favorites. The long shots are there because they don't usually win. Now, should you take a flyer on one? Sure, go ahead. But more often than not, closer to the favorites will win the race because they're better horses. And people that know. Now, on
Girardi
any
told me
given day,
the winner, the favorite wins 30% of the time.
there you
That's
go.
what I heard last week.
And any given day, there's going to be an upset. So 18-1 in the Derby was a pretty good get.
Tell me what you do in handling money, because
That's what we
I've given
do.
you a nice little plug here.
That's what we do.
Putting
We
a
handle
team
money.
together to make sure I don't do
When you're a
stupid
business owner,
things, right?
when you're
Literally.
a business owner, we help you put a board of directors, a board of advisors together to make sure that when you understand how the widgets are made, you can focus on making the widgets and have a team of people around you to help you understand all the rest of what you need to know about the profit when it comes in from the widget sales. And too many business owners are see everything: CEO, CIO, CFO, COO.
Guilty.
They run every part of their business, and they're also still buying the paper clips at Staples. And you need people that do that are better than you at doing it. And you need a professional team around you to help you strategize what to do and how to grow and how to be in the future an entrepreneur and a business owner with success. Most business owners get into business because they love something. They have a passion, and they turn it into a vocation, as you were saying about Bishotti. They turn the passion into a vocation, and then they generate revenue, and then the revenue grows, and then they don't know what the heck to do next. And they either stay stuck at a certain level or they grow. And when they grow, they then don't know what to do. And as you said, you got to put a team of people around you that are expert at it to help you go to the next level. Someone once said, you can't get where you want to go by doing the things that got you to where you are. You have to do something different, take a next step. And that next step might be bigger, harder, but you can't keep doing what you're doing and expect to get anywhere different. So we help people get to the different. We help them to get to the bigger, better. And we help people have their American dream, to have the success they want, the life they want, and let their job or their business be a tool for that rather than all of that. And that's what it's about, man. We help people handle their money to do that.
Leonard Raskin is Raskin Global. I'm wearing the shirt here. If I get so, You gonna do some baseball soon, or what's happening
Yeah.
here? Yeah,
Well,
you getting
got
there?
a little business trip coming up. We got a little business travel coming up, but we'll be back. And I'm not a 65-degree rainy Oriole day guy. I'm not that dedicated.
Are you
I'm
a
a
92-degree hot as
no,
hell?
no,
I'm
no,
not either, but I was 2 weeks ago. We had a pretty good
no.
time.
Right. It was a little crazy weather snafu. I am a sunny 80, sit out there and enjoy the game, or a nice Friday, Saturday evening, nice breeze blowing through the park, enjoying a lemonade, watching the O's. That's my thing.
All
We'll
right.
get
Well,
out there soon enough.
I'm trying to figure my way back in certain circumstances, and Leonard is smiling at that.
Got to go
I'm
to
going to be
Mr. Big.
writing.
Got to
Yeah, I'm
go
going to be writing
direct.
a letter to Mr. Rubenstein
Got to go direct.
soon. Yeah,
Got to go direct.
yeah, I'm gonna have to
It's
write a
time.
letter. A
It's time.
columnist. It's time. And
A
look,
nice
yeah,
letter. I don't
a
know what your
true
people are
letter.
telling you. I don't know what your people are telling you, but here's who I am and what's going on. Let's talk. Let's break bread.
Yeah, I'm trying. I've got
He's
the
got a
bread, the
show.
wine,
He's got a show on Bloomberg TV. Tell
I
him you want to
know.
be a guest on his show.
You think that? You think
Let him
that's the
interview you
method?
for a half hour. Then you can interview him. Yeah, tell him you want to be a
I'm sure
guest
he
on his show.
wouldn't see that as equitable, but that's fine.
Hey,
But it would be.
it's
I've
an
had good
ask.
questions for him.
Right, it's an ask. I don't
Well,
know. I don't know
I,
the man. If I did, I'd already called him for you.
the most amazing thing is if he sat with me, I would have an hour. It would be the best hour conversation he's ever had publicly
Right,
because it would be about not about what he thinks of outfielders or how he felt
right,
about my cousin. I want to know what his plan is. I want to know
right.
what are you doing here? Like what and then follow up.
He's spraying
Not
people.
with a
He's
script, not
he's doing
handing
Mr.
his
Splash.
questions to his handler.
No,
Like literally sit and say, "Why do you love Baltimore? How did you get into this? Who called you? What were you
right.
doing with John Angelos last summer and telling everybody that you weren't involved and telling people in the media that
I
you
don't know if
weren't
he's going to
involved and
answer
how
that.
dare you?" Well, I mean, right. Weren't you going to get into the Nationals thing with Leonsis? What happened there? And tell me about your business. And do you own, what do you own? How did you get rich with this car lot? Tell the people in Dundalk about this who haven't Googled you and don't watch Bloomberg News. And you
Right.
know what? Don't read books.
He
Let's
might answer some of those. I'm sure he'll answer some of those, and some of them he'll tell you can't talk about. But
and
the
that's
idea
fine.
is
And then I'll
right.
move
The
on.
idea is you got to have that sit
What are you
down.
going to
I
do with
think
the
it's
$600 million? What's the
that's right.
idea here?
It's worth a
How
conversation.
important was that in the deal to get the John Angelos thing? How
That's right.
like that's all. Yeah.
That's it. I'm with you. I'd call him if I knew him.
And here's the one thing I would tell his people if they were listening,
Yeah,
because no one listens.
but everybody hears.
Everyone here, yeah, exactly. You're
I
catching
got it.
on. You're
I
catching
got it.
on.
I got it.
The other thing I would say is I am of the understanding that he doesn't really know a lot of. He doesn't want to talk about Cal Ripken or Scott Erickson or the big loss to Benitez giving up the home run to Fernandez or
He knows about it.
how
He
Willie
knows.
Stargell in '79 made him feel, or was he at the vet in '83 with me? Because he probably wasn't. Because my understanding is if I sat and really talked baseball with him, is he is a limited vernacular to
Well,
discuss spin rate. So what I'm saying is he's not a
yeah.
baseball. So I wouldn't come at him with
No,
that. I'm not.
you just have a conversation.
I would not be looking to embarrass him on the
That's
air. I'd
not
be
the
looking
goal.
to praise him on the air and find out what
Absolutely.
we have in common,
Absolutely.
other than being from
Absolutely.
Baltimore and
Right.
loving the Orioles.
So I think you need to break bread and then you need to say, okay, let's have a real conversation and we'll talk to each other
All
like
right, you
men.
work on that. Listen, your people have. I'll tell you what.
I'll have my
Mike,
people call his people. We'll see what we can get done.
I'll tell you what Michael Arrighetti's PR person told me on opening
Yeah.
day. I
Yeah.
saw Michael Arrighetti, one of the other owners. He's the
Right.
guy that bought all the
Right.
beer. I
Yep.
handed him my business card, and I said, "Hi, I'm Nestor Aparicio. I do sports radio here. I've done sports media for 30 years. I'd love to just say hello." He
Yep.
took my card. He handed it to a woman,
Yeah.
and he turned his back and walked away. And the woman put her hand out and said, he said, "Meet Priscilla," is what he said. He said, "This is Priscilla. This is Priscilla." And Priscilla gave me the limp handshake, took my card and took the card from him
Right.
because he didn't want to touch the card. He gave it to her and literally gave it to her. And she said, "We'll be in touch." And she turned and moved, and she hadn't been in touch, and it's been 6 weeks. So,
Well,
so
let's
that
call
was my
Priscilla.
approach to one of the. So
Let's
when
call
you're saying
Priscilla.
like, let's go up and break bread, and so don't think that I haven't.
Hey, I get it.
Don't
I
think
get
that I
it.
haven't tried to break bread.
How about that guy,
know?
Cal Ripken? What about him?
I love Cal Ripken. I've offered him a crab cake, and that's a standing offer with him.
Right.
John Maroon's had a couple of crab cakes with me.
But
and
is
I
he
love John.
involved? Is he involved?
Is John involved?
Yeah.
John's involved with Maroon, what John does.
No, but I'm saying with Rubenstein.
No.
So that
John.
doesn't. I'm talking about Cal's an owner. Grant Hill's an owner.
Okay. I mean, I love Calvin.
I'm just trying to get there.
Dude.
I'm just trying to get there. That's all.
Never met Grant Hill. Calvin Hill was a beautiful guy.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Well, they're owners.
Kurt Schmoke, right?
Is he part of the team?
He was in the box opening day, and
isn't he the president of University of Baltimore?
My alma mater.
You and me, baby. You and me.
Bees.
So,
all right.
So talk to Kurt.
All right.
He knows David.
All right.
I'm just thinking of entrees. Two Kevin Bacon, right?
How
2
about
degrees
this?
of separation.
How about this? I own a radio station. I do a show. You credential my employee who. Tell me why you credential him and don't me. Tell me
get
why.
Crazy. They might drop him.
How about Tuesday night? Tuesday night, Luke couldn't cover the game.
You
know why he couldn't cover the game?
I know.
He was the deacon in his church.
Oh, geez.
And it's the monthly meeting at his church on Tuesday night.
Yep.
Luke is a man of God. And I love Luke, and Luke loves the Lord, and Luke serves the Lord. And Luke is the deacon at his church, and he takes it very, very seriously, especially on Sundays when the Ravens are, play. You know what I mean? Like he's very, so I'm ultra respectful of that. He doesn't have to go to the Oriole game that night, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he goes to the Oriole game every night, right? So like my seat sits empty because they won't let me in it.
I get it.
It's insane. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. It's just, it doesn't, and whatever reason they give, it's because I'm a bad guy. And they've been telling people I'm a bad guy for 20 years, and the same people are there. So when people ask me why I don't have a press credential at this point, the same people are there, and I'm getting the same sort of
it's that
situation.
Deep state. It's that bureaucracy. It's not the president. It's the bureaucracy.
Yeah, I said to my wife, because I was moved by this, shall we say, on Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
I said to her, it's not surprising at all. It's disappointing.
Yes.
I put Oriole gear on. I've been back down there spending money, pulling my credit card out, giving them fair treatment on the air. I mean, like they're the best baseball team I've ever seen in this city in my lifetime by far, including any Ripken, Palmer, Brooks, my cousin, whatever. This is a great time for them to reach to everyone. You want to be inclusive and use the flag of inclusivity, include everyone. Even the people you don't like, even the people that criticize you justly, and even the people that for 20 years you've been telling everybody in the world that I'm a bad guy.
Yeah,
I'm not a bad guy.
You
were a bad organization run by a bad guy.
Yep.
So, and I'll that could be on my tombstone too. But I still love Dutch saying to David Trone,
he's real Baltimore.
That that was the most awesome. I love you, Dutch. Thank you. You get no other message, and I deteriorate and disintegrate today.
He's
real Baltimore. That's all you need to know.
Amen,
Leonard Raskin,
brother.
He's real Baltimore too. He's the other side of the Northwest. I'm Southeast. We meet somewhere in the Towson and the Beltway and get together.
On the Key Bridge.
No.
On the new bridge. We'll meet on the new bridge.
You know what? That new bridge, when it happens, is going to be a big day.
It's going to be a big day.
It's going to be a big day for whomever the governor is, whomever the mayor, but it's going to be a big day, I think, for the citizens here. I think it's a big day to shine for Baltimore. So I do hope that just like you and I've gotten together, Republican and Democrat, that they can all get together and play nice.
Kumbaya.
Like the Orioles should be playing nice with me and find a way to make it work and be nice to each other.
Amen.
So I'm all for being nice. More kindness gets you further. And even though we're not going to have mechanical crabs, we're not going to be nice to the crabs on Friday. Come on down and participate in the Crab Derby. Get a Pac-Man scratch off.
That's good eating.
I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking crab cakes in Baltimore Positive.